Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Intuitive Angling, and thank you very much for checking today's video out and making some time to watch it. Much appreciated there. Guys, today we're going to be talking crankbaits. I got some crankbait tips I'm going to pass along to you guys. We could do a 5-hour seminar on crankbaits, but today what I'm specifically going to talk about is crankbait size a little bit. I'm not gonna get like real specific, but I've got two different things I want to share with you guys regarding crankbait size that I think is going to help not only catch more fish, but it's going to make your crankbait selection quite a bit easier there. So we'll get into that. Real quick, guys, just our weekly reminder. I wanted to remind everybody about, if you are struggling to catch fish right now, one of the best ways you can do to help that out is check out our summer lake map breakdowns at fishthemoment.com. I'll put the link in the description. These are lake map breakdowns that I build for Fish the Moment that gives you 40 GPS waypoints on every breakdown. You can download them straight into your electronic unit, give you tips and advice on how to fish each spot, and it's a really good foundation to find out more about your favorite lake, or to just basically get a start if you're struggling a little bit. So again, I'll put the link in the description. Much appreciated there. Okay guys, let's talk a little bit about this. Specifically, I want to talk about big versus small. Now, this is the old Bagley B3 crankbait, which is a fairly large profile square bill crankbait. It's been a great fish catcher for years. And this is the Megabass S-Crank 1.2. And you can see the size difference quite a bit. The S-Crank 1.2, it's about, a little over an inch long or so, inch and a half. And this is a 3-inch crankbait next to it here. See the different size profiles here. Guys, you cannot believe the difference that an inch makes. I mean, when you're talking about cranking like this, specifically, not just shallow water, but deep water as well, but really pertinent to like right now in August when this video is being filmed, it really makes a big difference. So the point of the video, what I want to talk about here, guys, is how do you choose? It's like, what makes the determination if you think you should use the larger size crankbait or the small size crankbait. And a lot of people will say, okay, well, I want to use the big crankbait because it's going to produce a bigger fish, and maybe I'll get a limit on the little one. That's not necessarily the case, guys. Just because you downsize to a small crankbait, and by the way, guys, that Megabass Z2 crankbait has been my two best producers this summer. I'll put the Baitworks link in the description if you guys want to get you a couple of them trying out. They are excellent summer crankbaits. But anyway, just because you go to a smaller size doesn't mean that you're going to catch smaller fish with it. The biggest bag of fish, guys, that I have caught the last 2 months fishing came on this S-Crank 1.2, which is a small crankbait. Even though I've tried some larger size crankbaits and bigger baits, this little crankbait has produced the bigger ones. So I think one of the common myths there is they think that if you downsize your bait size, you're going to downsize the size that you catch, and that's not necessarily true under all situations. It can be in certain situations, but not all situations. So the point is how do you choose? It's like, how do you begin to choose which one is going to get you a combination of the most bites and the biggest bites? Now, a lot of this has to do with several different factors. It has to do with the water temperature, it has to do with the time of the year, and the water clarity. And when you're talking about water temperature, guys, there's a big difference between water temperatures that are rising up to a certain point and cooling to a certain point. So let's say, for example, we're talking about, 58 degree water temperature. Now, if you're dealing with 58 degree water temperature in the springtime, you're talking about water temperatures that are rising up into 58 degrees. And this may occur over a period of 2 to 4 weeks. And if you're talking about 58 degree water in the fall time, you're talking about a cooling trend that has taken place over a month or more to get it down to 58 degrees from the maximum temperatures. Now, let's say that, you're keying in on that 58 degree water temperature for your crankbait selection. There's a big difference between spring and fall as far as relative to that, as far as what size works best. And that has to do with a lot about egg production in the fish, getting ready to spawn versus getting ready to feed it for the winter. What you're going to find, guys, if you have water temperatures that are on the rise, normally in the pre-spawn in the springtime, you're going to catch more fish and probably bigger fish on a larger crankbait. There's just something about it. A larger crankbait will always work better when those water temperatures begin to rise. Now, there's the paradox here, because the opposite happens when those water temperatures begin to cool down to the same point. That's when you want to go small. In the fall time of the year, you're going to get a lot more bites and you're going to catch just as big a fish on a small crankbait. So let's say, for example, you're fishing your favorite creek arm on the lake, and say there's one of your favorite rocky banks where there's like some good rock on it and good rock transition, and you may catch fish there all year long. Let's just say it's a good spot, like a channel swing or something. Fish just use it a lot. If you fish that bank, like I said, in March when the water temperature's in the mid 50s, and you try fishing a small crankbait, you're not going to do as good as if you catch a big one. And the same thing if you go back to that same bank like in late November and December, you're not going to catch many fish on that big crankbait, but you're going to catch quite a few on the small. Now, again, that has a lot to do with some factors that we may not understand, but that's just been my experience with that. The other thing with that you have to consider is the lake in general, as far as how good the fishing is on the lake and what is the relative size on the lake, because a lot of lakes simply don't have big fish in it. If you guys, say for example, are fishing up in Ohio on the Ohio River, a 3-pounder is a big one there. But if you're fishing Clear Lake in Florida, they catch 12 and 15 pounders there. So when you're determining what size of lure to use, it also has to do a lot with the overall size of fish in the lake. So obviously, if you're fishing a place like the Ohio River where the fishing's tough and the fish are small, you're not going to catch near the fish you're not going to catch near the fish on a big crankbait as you would a small one, simply because of the relative size of the fish. So and there's variations with that. There's certain lakes that are just sort of in between that, but that's another big consideration with it. Another consideration is cover, guys. The type of cover that you're fishing has a big impact on the size of crankbaits. One of the things I found out about fishing lakes that have grass in it, doesn't matter if it's Texas, Tennessee, TVA lakes, Florida, whatever, is they tend to like a little bit larger crankbait. I don't do as well on grass lakes on smaller crankbaits, but if you have a lake that has a lot of shallow wood mixed in with rock, doesn't have to be, it can be just logs and laydowns and rock, that's when the smaller crankbaits will also tend to work a little bit better, especially if the water's hot. Another thing you're going to find out about crankbait size is it's always better to go small in the heat of the summer after the fish get out of their post-spawn phase. Now, here's what sort of happens. It's like once those fish get done spawning, and this is sort of a wide-ranging little talk we're having here, but it's pertinent. Say, for example, if the fish spawn in your lake in the end of April, for the next month or so, they're going to be in this post-spawn phase, post-spawn feeding phase, and they like big baits there. That's why your big crankbaits work really good in late May and early June. But once you start getting into like July and August and September, those fish get off those big baits like that, and they go back more to the smaller crankbaits once that water temperature maxes out at the top of it. And like I said, those are two variations. There's other sizes in between there. But I tell you what I found for the most part, guys, I do better in fishing either with a small crankbait or a big crankbait. I don't use a lot of in-betweens. I like to go big or to go small. That's why my favorite is either that Megabass 2.0, which is about twice as big as this 1.5, or the little 1.2 there. So that has a lot to do with it too. But anyway, ultimately, those are some guidelines that you have there. But one of the things you got to remember about fishing is that fish don't read books and they don't listen to YouTube videos. They are unique to themselves. And basically with bass, number one, you find them where they're at. People can say, well, they should be here and should be here and shouldn't be there. That's not true. You find them where they're at, and what they want any particular day can change day in and day out as far as size, speed of retrieve, color, all that type of stuff. Another reason that's why bass fishing is the most difficult sport on the planet is you've got literally an unlimited amount of variables. But you got to start somewhere so you're not overwhelmed. So that's my advice on crankbaits, big versus small. So hope it helps out, guys. We'll talk later.